Do you feel like when you finally like a guy, you struggle to set the right boundaries with him? Is it not even more painful that that same guy ends up taking advantage of the fact that you were too nice? Well, what if I told you, with an understanding of exactly what boundaries must be set with a man from the very beginning, it can be the difference between you getting respect and you getting taken advantage of. Which is why on today's show, we're going to be discussing every boundary you must set with men. That way, never again do you get disrespected or taken advantage of in your relationship with a man, ever. Point number one is focus. Now, what are we focusing on, and what do I want you focusing on, and why is this a boundary? See, here's the thing about dating. I don't necessarily need you to go on your very first date and tell a man exactly what you will and won't do. That's very masculine of you. But you still need to be setting boundaries in a firm, stern, yet feminine way. Let's explain what focus is and what I want you and him to be focusing on as a boundary. Men, of course, are men, meaning they have an innate, burning, deep desire to penetrate themselves inside of you. I'm getting real today, okay? And because they have a deep burning passion to penetrate themselves inside of you, we need to shift the focus here so that we all understand in this group, yeah, you and him on this date, that yes, we do want pleasure eventually. Yes, I'm feeling a vibe from you. Yes, you're attracted to me, I'm attracted to you. However, just because we're attracted to each other, that doesn't mean we're gonna put our focus in the wrong place. So part of today's show is not just gonna be about setting boundaries, it's also gonna be about understanding how to do that in a feminine way while staying in your nice, beautiful, cute, feminine energy. Now, the reason I drew this out is because I want you to visualize something very important, right? See, men will try and do this thing where they want one day, right? So we can call this circle one day, right? They want that one day to consist of a date. They want it to consist of a kiss. They want it to consist of a cuddle at the end of the night. They want it to consist of trauma dumping. They want it to consist of what else? They want it to consist of sex. They want it to consist of so many different things, right? To fill up this one day here. But here's the problem, right? As you're doing this, right? In the process of you guys filling up your entire day or with all of the possible things you could possibly do in one relationship, you end up rushing and taking things a lot faster than intended. See, part of the reason guys will do this, right? We can call it kind of a version of love bombing, but even guys that like you will do this because they want to rush to the fun parts of the relationship. And the problem is, as soon as you start to rush to the fun parts of the relationship, you stop focusing on the most important parts of the relationship, which is building the foundation, okay? And I want you and him focusing in the right places. So the reason I put these here as building blocks is because I want you to imagine with everything we're doing, and we're going to talk about pacing in a little bit, right? I want you to be imagining every day is another chance to add a building block, right? So one of these building blocks here might be a date. One of these building blocks might be meet the friends, right? One of these building blocks here might be a kiss even, right? One of these building blocks here might be just building overall trust. So the reason I'm saying this is because I want you to rethink in your mind, rather than going on your date and saying, hey, I'm setting this boundary that I have a 90-day rule. It's gonna take me exactly 90 days and 3.5 hours before I'll finally sleep with you. That's not how I want you to set a boundary in terms of focus. What I want you to set a boundary of, and this is how I want you to even present it, is that my main focus from the very beginning is going to be on building with each other. Building only happens over the course of time. And over the course of time, over many weeks and many months, we will add different blocks to this overall project or overall construction of our relationship, if you want to call it that. And you don't necessarily have to say that word for word, but that is the type of narrative I want you to come to that very first date with, that very first hangout with. Because when you consistently talk about building, when you consistently talk about how you're going to add things to your relationship and to your dynamic over the course of time, you're indirectly and subconsciously communicating to him, we are not going to do this. right? Everything in just one single day that we meet. We're not gonna pack our date filled with romance, filled with trauma dumping, filled with the heart to heart, filled with going to the park, filled with going here and doing this and doing that. That by the time we finally want to like explore other parts of a relationship, we're thinking that we've done everything in the first day and we're thinking we're already husband and wife. That's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve him. It's not going to serve the benefit of the relationship. Set that boundary from the beginning. Because when it comes time to make a decision on sleeping together, or when he starts talking about that or hinting towards that, you can remind him in a nice feminine way that you're here to. Point number 2 is persuasion. I'm going to set you in on a reality because we're friends. I love you. I care about you. I can't lie to you about what goes on in men's mind. When you tell them that you're not going to do things, i.e., for example, I'm not going to sleep with you on the first date. Or even, for example, I'm not going back to your house on the first date. In a perfect world, when you say that, that would be enough of a way to set a boundary and he'd just be like, okay, she said it, that means she's serious about it. But in reality, when you say those type of things, men say to themselves, we'll see. Because they get accustomed to being able to convince women of things that they originally said they weren't going to do. So one of the very important boundaries to set with men from the very beginning, please, from the very beginning of your relationship with him, is that when you say you're going to do something, or when you say you're not going to do something, you cannot be persuaded to change your mind on that, especially as it relates to something about you, your decision on your own life, your decision on your own body, or your choice in terms of what you're going to do with your time. Let me give you a better example of that so you're not confused, right? Let's say you're with a guy, and in the process of you going on a date with the guy, you kind of tell him like, look, at the end of this date, I listen to Tomisin a lot, so I know that I'm not going to have no marathon dates. So I'm going to tell you from the very beginning that, the date, I only have 2 hours, and after the 2 hours, either you got to take me home or I got to get my Uber home because I have to go to sleep. I love my beauty sleep. That's how I stay fine. And then I got to wake up tomorrow morning and do a bunch of stuff, okay? So you tell him that at the beginning of the date. He says to himself, oh yeah, 2 hours for sure. I'll make sure she feels a vibe. And once she starts feeling the vibe, even though she was going in this direction here, I'm going to do a little bit of a detour, right? We'll block off this road here. Forget what she was going to do over here. And we're going to take this detour over here because I know with the right type of persuasion, with the right chit chat, as long as I'm a smooth operator, a smooth talker, I tell enough jokes, she'll be feeling me. She'll be feeling the vibe. She'll forget about what she said she was gonna do. She'll forget about the direction she said she was gonna go in. Forget that. And we're gonna go in this new direction, which is the direction that I persuaded her to go into because I want us to do that. Now, here's the thing, right? Setting this boundary with men is not about just saying, hey, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. It's also about showing them that when you say you're not going to do something, you actually follow through with it, even if it's easy or feels good to follow through with it. Because, for example, if that guy says, hey, I'm loving this date, I'm loving this vibe, and as the date goes on, originally you said 2 hours, but now it's like 1 hour and 59 minutes, and you guys have been laughing, you guys have been giggling, you guys have been joking back and forth, you like the way he banters with you, his smile is great, you guys have a great chat, he's very respectful, and now at 1 hour and 59 minutes, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I had this boundary and rule that I wasn't gonna go back to your house, but now I'm enjoying the date so much, I don't know if I should still do that, so maybe me and you, we can go back to your house because I do like your vibe and I do like the way that we chit chat and I do like the way that we banter, right? But this is a mistake because once you do that, you're setting a different expectations because boundaries are a lot like expectation. You are setting the expectation that in the future, when you tell him you're not going to do something, or you tell him you're going to do something, especially as it relates to yourself, you're now showing him firsthand that he can persuade you to get you to do what he wants you to do. And that he doesn't actually have to take you seriously when you mention things, or you set boundaries, or you set expectations overall. So this is something you have to show men. You really can't tell men about this. You have to show them that even though I like you, even though I'm vibing with you, even though this is a good feeling for me and you and on this date, I'm still not going to allow that to affect the fact that you will not persuade me to do something that I said I wasn't originally going to do. Point number 3 is about texting. Now, why would you be setting a boundary with texting, and why is this one of the most important boundaries to set? Please, I beg you, I want you to set this boundary. This boundary is really important to set because for a lot of you, you won't realize how easy it will be to fall into the texting trap. With men, from the very beginning when you meet them, I want you to set the expectation you are not going to be an endless chit-chatter over text. Why must you set that boundary from the very beginning? Because a lot of the men that you meet, and let's be super real here, I know a lot of you are meeting men on dating apps. I know a lot of you are meeting men through Instagram DM. The reason I say this is because if you don't set that expectation from the very beginning, what's going to happen is majority of the men you talk to will just be texting buddies. And unfortunately, this is the world we live in today in 2025. Some of the men, I should say a large percentage of the men you text on the phone, you'll never end up going on an in-person real life date with them. That's just the reality of life. And what I want you to get good at is wasting a lot less of your time. You will waste so much of your life away messaging men, thinking to yourself, I'm messaging them that eventually one day me and him will go on a date, only to realize down the line that all you've continued to do this entire time was text, and never actually set an in-person date because he never had any real intention of actually going on an in-person date with you. The reason I drew this visual out here is because I kind of want you to actually see for yourself how being on the phone, even when you text someone for a whole week, even when you text someone for multiple weeks, you can feel like, oh yeah, we're doing this thing where it's really great and I'm getting to know him and I'm getting to understand him. But by the time you go on an in-person date, everything can change. And you're probably saying, well, Tomisin, think you're a know-it-all? You think you know everything? How could you possibly do some sort of wizard math and assume that many weeks of being on the phone is barely equal to one in-person date? Well, I will say that by asking you a question. Have you ever been texting a man for 1 week, 2 weeks, multiple weeks, and you're feeling like there's a vibe there, but you haven't met him yet? But you feel like the way that he texts you and you feel like the way he responds to you, you guys would get along and you guys would have good conversation. And then you finally meet that guy. And when you finally meet him in person, you realize, oh, actually, the vibe that I thought that we were sharing, the good conversation that I thought we would have in person, when I finally met him, we didn't have that same type of conversation in person. If that's happened to you before, then you know firsthand that texting on the phone is never going to be equivalent to being with someone in person. Because if texting on the phone was really equivalent in terms of building a relationship and building a foundation to meeting someone in person, then all of the weeks of texting should mean something when you finally meet them in person. And there shouldn't be such a misalignment when you finally meet them in person, or I should even say such a disappointment when you meet someone in person if you've been spending many weeks messaging them. And this is what I want to bring to your attention, how this is such a unequal equation, right? And how there's so much imbalance here, even though it feels like they're equal, even though it feels like they can be the same, even though it feels like you can supplement one for the other. So the reason I say all of that is because you need to set that boundary from the beginning so you don't fall into the trap of trying to get to know him over text, or just fall into the trap of allowing the relationship to become comfortable over the phone, right? And not putting pressure on him and pressure on the success of the relationship to him seeing you in person. I know it sounds very weird, but setting a good boundary is also squeezing the life. I really mean this, it's gonna sound horrible. Squeezing the life out of men's ability to communicate with you without taking you on a date. I know it sounds very weird and very strange for me to say it like that, but the moment you set a boundary where you squeeze the life out of men's ability to get access to you and communicate with you, if they're not gonna take you on a date, you will get more dates more often, and you will also waste less of your time doing this without ever seeing or meeting someone. Point number 4 is about scheduling. This is a boundary I want you to set with men from the very beginning, and I'll explain to you why in an example. Let's say that a man asks you out on a sushi date, okay? And let's say this is Monday. And he asks you out on this sushi date that next Monday, okay, in 1 week's time, you guys are gonna go on a sushi date to your favorite sushi spot, whatever the case may be. He brings it up and he asks you out via text message. Hey, you wanna go out to this sushi spot? They serve the best sushi there. You wanna go at 7 p.m. next Monday, okay? So he sets that date and sets that time. Now, let's say for the sake of example, that in the process of him setting this sushi date 1 week in advance, you obviously have 7 days here. Let's say for the sake of example, throughout these 7 days that you have in between the Monday and the next Monday, you get no message. So from Monday to the next Monday, after he asks you out, you guys chit chat for a little bit, and then he proceeds to send you no message, no confirmation, no, hey, we still on for next Monday, nothing, okay? And then next Monday comes and you haven't received any sort of confirmation at all. This is the boundary that I want you to set. And you can only really set this boundary when it comes up in the process of your relationship. So this is where I'm saying have a heads up for this moment if it does come up. When the Monday comes and he hasn't had any sort of confirmation with you throughout the entire week to kind of let you know that you guys are still on for the next Monday and that sushi date at that time at that restaurant. And you're now in a place where you're very confused and you're like, I don't know. Tomisin, am I supposed to go to the sushi date still? Am I supposed to get ready? Am I supposed to remind him throughout the week? Am I supposed to just like do this without saying anything? Is that how guys set dates now? What am I supposed to do? This is what I want you to do in this scenario. If you get to the next Monday and he has yet to confirm with you anything about this sushi date and you're wondering whether you should get ready or not, my direct advice to you in terms of setting a boundary is you can get ready, but you're gonna get ready and you're gonna go out with your girlfriend somewhere else. And then let's just say for the sake of example, you're getting ready. In the process of getting ready, he sends you a message maybe like an hour or two before you guys are supposed to meet at that sushi spot. And then he asks you, hey, are we still on for that sushi spot, in an hour or in 2 hours? I want you to say, oh, my bad. You didn't say anything, so I just made different plans. Oh, well, maybe next time. Okay? And that's it. You go out, you have your good time, you post on your stories. I don't care how much he whines. I don't care how much he cries. I don't care how many times he calls you. I don't care how many times but we were supposed to go to, I set the reservation. I did, we're supposed to go here. That's how men will freak out, right? Like they'll act like they're dying. They'll say, we were supposed to go here and I'm already ready and I'm basically on my way and I took off work, and then they're gonna go crazy, right? When they realize you're just doing something else now. But I want you to stay calm and I want you to understand this is for the greater good. Because when you set this boundary, you're now also setting an expectation, and it's a very important expectation and boundary to set. Because men need to understand, if he's gonna schedule you in his life and he's gonna get access to you, he should do that by being very meticulous and detailed about the way that he goes about scheduling you, okay? Very important boundary to set. Why? Because you don't wanna let men, especially from the very beginning, fall into the habit of feeling like they can just call you up whenever and ask you to pull up whenever, wherever, however, and not really concern themselves with whether or not it's inconvenient for you, whether or not they've given you enough of a heads up, or whatever the case may be. Because I promise you, I'm telling you, I'm a man, okay? I know, I'm a man. After a certain point of realizing that you will pull up whenever, wherever, he will realize it makes no sense and is very unnecessary to be planning and scheduling with you weeks or days in advance. Because when he needs you, he'll just order you to his house like DoorDash. So what's the point of scheduling you a week in advance? Ask yourself a question, okay? And I really mean this. Do you ever schedule your DoorDash order 1 week in advance? Okay? Do you ever look at your phone, scroll through the Uber Eats app, scroll through the DoorDash app and say to yourself, I would love that spicy California roll 1 week from now? Never. Do you ever do that? Whoever does that? You only think about that DoorDash app and that Uber Eats app when you're ready to order in the moment, when you're thinking about that food in the moment. The reason I say that is because once men get that flow with you and build that rhythm with you, it's like cement. it hardens in stone, and then that becomes the only way that they think about scheduling you. It's not really even scheduling you, they just order you because they understand you and your relationship to be in this certain position where he can order you whenever he wants. So why would he bother scheduling you when he can order you whenever he wants? Set that boundary from the very beginning. I want us to understand each other on something. Point number 5 is about happiness. I do want you to enjoy your time, I should say, with a man. I want you to allow him to feel that you're enjoying your time with him. I want you both to enjoy your time with each other. However, in the process of dating a man, there are very subtle yet feminine ways to remind him that he is not your sole source of happiness. The reason I say this is because when you meet a guy from the very beginning, you'll have things going on in your life. You should have things going on in your life. So your sun, meaning your happiness, we'll put here, will consist of a whole bunch of different things. You'll have friends in here, right? You'll have fam in here. You'll even have work stuff in here, all this other stuff you'll have going on for you that fill up this space in your happiness, your sun, so to speak. And you revolve around your sun, right? All of these things make you happy. They give you life, right? They feed you with energy and make you whole, bright, and beautiful and glowing, just like Earth, okay? Now, here's the thing. When you meet a guy, though, men will attempt to do this a lot of the time. They will attempt to say, hey, so glad all these other things were giving you happiness, and that's so amazing for you, and it's very attractive for me. But actually, do you mind if I put aside some of those and I become your main source of happiness? What does that look like in a relationship? It's when a man will start very quickly trying to see you every single day. And even when you're going to do other things with your life, he'll say, hey, let me tag along. You're going to the gym? Let me come with you. You're going to go study in study hall? I want to be with you when you go study in study hall. Oh, you're just going to go chill, go to the grocery store? Let's go to the grocery store together. Oh, you're going to go hang out with your girlfriends? I want to be part of the girlfriends too. Ooh, let's sip the tea together. I want to hear the tea is hot, right? But this is the thing. It feels good because you feel like, oh, wow, he really wants to spend time with you. He really wants to be with me. And it sounds nice when you're thinking about, oh, wow, a guy would really want to spend that much time with you. But in reality, it's not as good as you think. Because just like with anything in life, too much of anything can become very, very bad and very, very toxic. So even as it relates to a man wanting to spend all day, every day with you for the next week, especially when he first meets you, this can be a version of that where he starts to become your son or starts to try to become your son. And that he wants essentially you to revolve around him in the sense that he wants to take up and be the main source of your happiness. And this is very dangerous because if you allow this to happen, this can be actually happen very, very easily if you're not aware of what's going on. If you allow this to happen, so for example, you allow him to come to the gym every day with you. So you see him at the gym. You allow him to damn near see you at work every day. You allow him to see you when you're studying every day. You allow him to, hang out with you and just casually be around you every single day. He's with the fam every day. He's with you and the friends every day. Now you have a situation very quickly where you find it difficult to think about your life outside of him. You find it difficult to plan or schedule anything in your life outside of him. Now what happens is if he's not here, if he's not in your life, or if he starts to do things like give you the silent treatment, all of a sudden you don't know how to operate anymore. You don't know how to have any sort of happiness if he's not around, if he's not talking to you, if he's not spending time with you, if he's not going on dates with you, right? You don't even know, and this will happen, tell me in the chat if this has ever happened to you. You might end up in a situation where you don't even feel the same level of joy or happiness being around your girlfriends if your man isn't there. Girls that you used to find happiness being around and hanging out with and having chit chat with without the guy. Now, all of a sudden, you feel like if I'm hanging out with you and I'm not with that guy, he's not here with us, then I don't even really enjoy having fun with you or talking to you. I need him here for me to even enjoy myself. Very, very dangerous. Once you get into that place in your mind, you've lost. Because now that he's your son, think about this. The same way he's your son and your happiness revolves around him, he can also taketh away. And then what is left? No sunshine, no light, nothing to give you light, nothing to give you energy, and you lose all of your amazing, beautiful glow. Everything withers away and dies, just like Earth would if there was no sun. So I want you to set that boundary. Do not allow men to try and come into your life and be the center of your happiness right away, immediately. Even when you begin dating a guy for a year, he should not be the center of your happiness. It is okay for you to set the boundary that, hey, yeah, today I was supposed to go to the movies with my friend. I know you could come to the movies with me and my friend, but this is supposed to be my movie time or movie night with my friend. So when we go to the movies, yeah, theoretically you could tag along. Yeah, theoretically I could invite you, but I also want to spend this time with my friend. Okay? I know it'll suck to say it when you're someone where you're like, no, I kind of like him, Thompson, and I kind of would love for him to come around, but you need to set that boundary, right? You need to allow yourself some space to continue to have your own versions of happiness and your own happiness outside of just him, okay? Isolation, point number 6, very, very important. Just like with the sun analogy that I gave you guys, I want you to never, ever make the mistake of allowing a man to isolate you from the people that love and care about you, and especially the ones that love and care about you before you met this man. Very important to set the boundary and expectation and understanding that, yes, I like spending time with you. Yes, you are great and amazing, right? But when this happens, and sometimes, honestly, it will happen, men will try and get you to come over here and be on their side. And they'll get you in the process of being on their side to basically alienate yourself away from all of these people so you can be here with him 24/7, okay? So you go from being over there, right, to now being over here by his side 24/7. And in the process of that, let me draw you like this. In the process of that, right, and you and him are now together and you are isolated from all of these other friends and family and people that love you. Now the manipulation will really start, because just like in the sun analogy, he can now be the main source, not of just your life, okay, in general, that he can really, really start to control you, control your thoughts. He can start to gaslight you and convince you of things that aren't even true because he's your only source of truth. I know it's going to sound very weird for me to say that, but a man, when he isolates you, especially when he isolates you emotionally, can become your sole source of truth from the standpoint of how can you ever acknowledge to yourself that something is crazy or something that he's doing or saying to you is wrong if he's the only person that you ever talk to about these situations. Because what's the number one thing he's going to do if you're catching him in a lie? He's going to explain himself away and tell you how what you're seeing or what you're believing is untrue. And he becomes your sole source of truth. Then you start to feel like, well, I guess that must be the case. He's not actually cheating on me. He's just messaging one of his best friends that he met on Tinder, along with his group of 5 other friends who are all girls that he met on Tinder. And because he's new to this city, because he only moved here like 8 years ago, he needs some new friends to be able to meet and hang out with, but it's just casual. They only travel together sometimes. And to save money when they travel together, sometimes he and the girl will sleep in the same bed, but it's just a casual thing because they're trying to save money on their trip because it's all inclusive. And very quickly, your delusions will easily spiral out of control because you only have one sole source of truth. So you have to tell men, hey, as much as I like spending time with you, and as much as I like being with you, I will not end up sacrificing my other great and awesome relationships to be with you. I'm also not going to allow you to come in my life and convince me that all the people in my life are bad. Because some men will do a tricky, sneaky thing where they'll basically tell you, oh, you don't need to be hanging out with her. She's horrible, right? You don't need to be hanging out with that friend. She's bad news. She's a bad influence on you. Oh, you don't need to be talking to your mom. She's toxic. Oh, your dad's always asking you to do stuff. Oh, don't talk to him. Oh, your brother, your sister. And slowly but surely, he'll convince you that everyone in your life, you don't need them, right? He's the only person that you need in your life, right? He's the only person who will ever do anything for you. All these other people are toxic except for him, right? And slowly but surely, each one of these people will get X'd out of your life. I'm telling, chat. You think I ain't seen some stuff? I done seen some stuff in my day, okay? Slowly but surely, it'll be like a magic trick. Each one of these people in your life will get X'd out one by one by one until one day you wake up, you don't got not a single friend anymore, not a single girlfriend, and even your family is barely talking to you because you spend all of your day's time, energy, effort, focus on this one man. And even that one man is not treating you right. Okay? Don't allow that. Point number 7 is the crash out. Now, what I want you to understand about the crash out, you might be thinking to yourself, what type of boundary is the crash out? When you crash out, sorry, let me explain what crash out means first, because I know some of you are not Gen Z, so you don't know what crash out means. When kids refer to the term crash out, what they're discussing is the idea of going crazy on a man. You know when, let's say, a guy, I'll give you an example of crashing out. A guy, let's say, is talking to his girl best friend, and you see him and his girl best friend having conversation and they're flirting. A version of crashing out would be like going over there, screaming at him, calling him a liar, calling him a cheater, and like throwing a drink on him. That's like a version of crashing out, as the kids would say, okay? Now, the reason I want to mention this as a boundary is actually because I want you to show men and set an expectation, because boundaries are also expectations, that he cannot simply go about the business of triggering you to get energy from you. Because what you don't realize, what you may not realize, is that crashing out, even though it feels good to do, because going crazy on men and going crazy on people feels like, oh, I just want to show him how mad I am. I just want to show him how angry I am. I just want to give him a piece of my mind. That one probably makes sense to you if you don't know the crash out. I want to give him a piece of my mind. Don't do it. When you do that, when you crash out, the reason I drew this like this, okay? Don't laugh here. When you crash out, you're giving a man energy, okay? You don't realize it, but you're giving him a lot of energy. You're thinking that as you're crashing out, you're showing him something. What you're actually doing, don't even laugh here. I'm actually so dead serious, okay? I'm actually so dead serious. What you're actually doing when you crash out on that man is you're making him very erect. Very erect. Not only are you showing him how important he is, not only are you boosting his ego, but you're also reminding him that if he didn't touch your soul as much as he did, if he didn't have that PP from heaven that blessed you and changed your life, there's no reason for you to be going this absolutely crazy on him, to be crashing out, as the kids would say. So you're feeding his ego, but you're also reminding him how big of a D he has. And that just makes him more erect, more hard, rock solid, actually, okay? Ego is so important to men. You feed it when you crash out on them. I want you to set the boundary and set the expectation that if he's going to receive energy from you, it will not be because he goes about the business of triggering you. Because this can create the inverse effect, where every time you crash out on him, he's like, oh yeah, I like the feeling of that. I'm hard as a rock right now. And subconsciously, even though it sounds twisted, it'll actually feel good to get that and feel that energy from you. So what do you think that leads to? It actually ends up leading to more of that behavior over and over again every time he wants to feel important. It's a simple way to draw attention to himself. And so you'll actually create a pattern of behavior in which when your man wants to feel the most wanted and the most desired and wants to feel the most attention from you, he figures out ways to get you to crash out. And each and every time you do crash out, it's a confirmation that if he does that thing again, you will crash out again. So rather than giving him those keys, because those are keys to understanding how to push your buttons, I want you to show him that if you do these things that are deemed to be crash out worthy, or you try to purposely trigger me or push my button so that I'll go over the moon and give you some energy and make your PP hard, you will get nothing from me, actually. It's gonna sound weird. You're gonna set a boundary where you're gonna train him, essentially. When you trigger me or when you try to do things to hurt me, or to get me to go crazy on you, you will receive the opposite of me crashing out. You will receive no energy from me. And if you do want to feel energy from me, you do want to feel my attention, you do want to feel my focus, it will only be because you are doing right by me. So this is where I want you to always make sure there is a stark contrast between the way that you treat him when you're noticing he's doing good work for you and he's being consistent with you, and there is a noticeable difference between that treatment and the treatment that you give him when he's trying to get you to crash out or when he's doing those things to trigger you. I'm not saying you can't feel emotions. I want you to feel emotions, but what we're not going to do is we're not going to feel those emotions and then give him all of that energy, because this is all it's going to do for him. It's going to make him rock solid and make him think about continuing to do it, right? Number 8 is about pace. I know that when you meet someone and you have a good first date with them, you're like, oh, I really feel good about that person. I really like their vibe. And I know when you go on a second date with that person, you're like convinced, if we have 2 good dates in a row, we vibing now. I don't see an issue with that person. I think that we could really be something. I want you to set a boundary and an expectation that with men, trust is never going to be something that can build in one day, okay? You have trust building here, right? One day, and then you have trust another day, building and going up another day, and then you have trust here, another day, going up and building another day, and so on and so forth and so forth. Sometimes you can get into a mode where, because things feel really good with someone at the beginning, even in a non-toxic way, you can start to convince yourself that there's real trust between you and the guy that you're seeing, but there's not. And I want you to never forget that. And I also want you to continue to remind him and yourself that, yes, I like how things are going. I like what we're doing so far. I like our dynamic. I like our interactions. However, there is still more for both of us to understand about each other. Set that boundary from the very beginning, because you want to make it clear you're not shaken and you're not, I guess the word is, you're not mesmerized by the idea that he will go on a couple good dates with you, tell you some jokes, seem like a nice guy, get you flowers one time, and then all of a sudden, now you're completely sure and convinced that this is the guy that you need to be with, right? I'm not saying you should assume he's a bad person or assume he's going to cheat on you or anything like that. I just want you also to be like, that's great. I'm so grateful for how we spent our time. I love spending time with you, and I love being able to go out on dates with you. However, there's still more for us to learn and understand each other. Now, I'll warn you, when you set this boundary, some emotionally immature men will sulk when you start to talk like this. Oh, but it's been a whole 3 weeks and we've been understanding each other so well and we're like basically already married, and how can you not see it like we're already dating? Like you're basically my girlfriend. You want to know why they'll sulk? Because as you're saying that, they understand that you're not overwhelmed emotionally and that you're not being swayed or persuaded right now, because they know in their heart of hearts, if you were going to be persuaded, the way you would be talking, you would be in line with the fantasy. And they would hear you talking like you're also living in the fantasy. When I say living in the fantasy, it's like, oh my God, I met you and you're my soulmate. I met you and I just can't believe that I've never met anyone like you, even close to. And I just know in my heart of hearts that me and you are going to get married. And I knew that when I laid my eyes on you, when my eyes connected with yours, I just knew. The men, they love to hear you talk like that and believe in that fantasy, because when you can believe in that fantasy, it's very clear and obvious to them that you're assuming that the trust is very high. If you're assuming the trust is very high, what are you willing to do? A lot of things that you shouldn't be doing, like sleeping with him before you're ready or before you guys are even actually in a serious relationship. When you start talking as if you're trying to pace yourself, still understand the situation, you're not going to abandon him. You're not saying that you don't want to spend time with him. You're not saying that you don't like him, but you're just saying, hey, I still want to get to know more about you. I still want to learn you. I think you have also more to learn about me, and we have time. Point number 9 is about girlfriend treatment. Now, I know a lot of you hear this term a lot, whether it be from other dating relationship coaches or just in general. Girlfriend treatment is a great but also very dangerous thing. Set a boundary from the very beginning that as much as you like the vibe going on here, as much as you like the fact that you guys are enjoying each other's time and enjoying each other's company, until you really see consistency from him. And you don't even necessarily need to say this. I just want you to set it by doing it. You are not going to be going out of your way to be doing things for a man who has not even shown you a desire to build with you. let me give you a very clear understanding of what I specifically mean by that. When I'm talking about investment here, a lot of you might imagine in your mind, I'm talking about money and a guy giving you money or spending money on you or taking you out on fancy dinner dates. That's actually not what I'm saying. When I'm saying investment here, I'm referring to men putting their time and their energy into you on a consistent basis and showing you that they're actually here to build something with you, okay? When they show you that, then and only then is when you begin to show him even a glimmer of girlfriend treatment. What will happen a lot of the time when you don't set this boundary is the moment he takes you on one date, or the moment he just starts to treat you nice or flirt with you a little bit, you will start to have in your mind, oh, we're already a thing and this is already super serious. And before he's actually really shown you any level of real consistency, you'll automatically start giving him girlfriend treatment by doing things like going over to his house, sleeping over at his house, waking up in the morning, cooking him breakfast at his place because you want to like show him something, cleaning his entire place so that it's nice and spick and span and all that good stuff, and trying to show him that like, hey, this is what it would be like to live with me and have me as a wife or have me as a girlfriend. And this guy hasn't even taken you out on a real date. Or maybe he's only taken you out on one date, and for the rest of the time, you guys haven't really done anything that serious. For the rest of the time, maybe he's just been chit-chatting with you, texting you, and never really been that intentional with you, right? And you have in your mind that, oh, maybe this will show him something, or maybe I owe him this because he's taking me out on one date or been nice to me just a little bit. One, it reeks of desperation, because why are you doing that for a man who just took you on one date? Number two, it also reeks of desperation because it kind of communicates indirectly and subconsciously that you are my one and only option. So I need to make sure that I do everything in my power that you as my one and only option won't walk out the door or not want to hang out or spend time with me. I know in your mind when you're doing it, you're thinking, oh, he's going to love me when I do this, but it doesn't work like that for men, right? They will love you when you do that after they invest in you. They're not going to love you when you do that when they know in their heart of hearts and in their mind, in their soul, their spirit, and their pee-pee that they really haven't truly been investing in you. And trust me, I'm a man, so I'm telling you, men deep down in their hearts, they know if they've truly been investing in you or if they've just been like, whatever, okay? And when they're just like, whatever, and they haven't really given you much real investment or much real consistency, and they notice that you're giving him all of this girlfriend treatment in the return for no real consistency, they say to themselves, maybe I can get away with doing even less, okay? So you're not going to be focused on trying to do more for a man until you notice consistency from him. Set that boundary from the beginning. And if he asks you to do things like, hey, come sleep over, you can cook dinner at my place. Can you clean up for me? You could, like, even if he starts asking you stuff, can you do my laundry? Whoa. We're still watching Netflix over at your place. And you're asking me to do laundry for you? And I'm not saying, let me be very clear, okay, for this point. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do nice things for a man. I'm not saying that you shouldn't give a man girlfriend treatment at all whatsoever or be nice to him, okay? What I am saying is when you do that, it should be earned through his investment. I'm not just talking monetarily, time and energy investment on a consistent basis. At the very least, you need to be seeing this type of investment on a consistent basis for 3 months before you can start saying or thinking or contemplating about giving him girlfriend treatment, okay? Doesn't mean you can't still be nice during that time. Doesn't mean you can't still be appreciative during that time. It doesn't mean you can't still be loving and caring during that time or be warm during that time. It just means you hold yourself and stop yourself from going overboard and trying to do some convincing by doing things like washing his underwear, cleaning his house, going over to his place, cooking him breakfast, all that stuff that you don't need to be doing in the first 3 months. Point number 10 is about forgiveness. Very important boundary to set with men that you are dating. You want them to understand that in order for you to forgive them, because the reality of it is we all make mistakes. You, me, everyone, okay? Actually, I'm an AI, so I don't know if I can make mistakes. But in reality, we all make mistakes. We're human beings. Here's the thing that I want you to remember when it comes to boundaries with men. Sometimes men will adopt the mentality that in order to get you, to forgive him, he can do something that I don't want him to become accustomed to doing. He'll start to say to himself, hey, instead of really doing anything about what I should be apologizing for, or the thing that I did that hurt her, I'll just, instead of taking action, I'll get her a Chanel bag. She does love that Chanel classic flap. Oh, she loves that one. She loves, that's the one she's always looking at the girls at the basketball games with, and she loves that Chanel classic flap, the big one. Or maybe I just hand her some money. And when I give her some money, I say, hey girl, you can go shopping, you can go get whatever you want. And she's got that smile on her face, she's all good, everything is all forgiven. Or I simply just say, yeah, you know, I'm really, really, really sorry. I really, really, really wish you could forgive me. And I pout and I sulk and I'm like a sad dog. Oh, I'm so sad. Can you forgive me? I'm so sad. I'm such a sad dog. I know she'll eventually forgive me. She'll be fine. Everything will be all good. Just like with any other standard, because a boundary is a standard and also an expectation, right, that you're setting. Once you allow this to happen and fester in your relationship, if you don't set the right boundary, this will continue to happen for the rest of your relationship. So it might sound good. Some of you are even saying, I take the money, I take the bag, I don't give a damn, give me that Chanel, I don't care, I'm not mad no more. And it sounds great at the beginning. Then when you get to your 4th and 5th Chanel bag, for the 4th and 5th time he's cheated on you, you're like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit traumatized now. This kind of sucks. Then when you have a whole shelf of Louis Vuitton and Chanel and YSL and all the different possible purses you could ever have, but you know that every weekend he's going over to a hotel and he's smashing another one of his coworkers, you're starting to rethink the fact that, damn, these are a lot of Chanel bags, but I don't have not an ounce of love. Here's the thing. As time goes on, those Chanel bags will start to become more and more unimportant to you in terms of the bigger picture here. And even the money, even though it might be good at first, will start to feel less and less important or impactful, especially as it relates to mending your heart or fixing what's actually aching you inside and paining you inside. And after a while, even all of the Chanel purses and the money and the sorries that he can give you won't mean anything. Because you want to know the only thing that actually means something? Action. Not the pointless sorry, but not actually changing anything. Not the money and the cash that he can hand you, and not the Chanel. None of them will actually alleviate you from the pain that you're feeling, especially if he does something that truly hurts you, except for true change through action. And that action also has to be consistent. I should also add that, right? I don't want you guys to have in your mind, because you might hear on TikTok and you might hear other creators talk to you about how, hey, getting the bag is amazing. Getting the Chanel bag, getting the cash, getting all this other stuff is amazing, and you don't worry about anything else as long as you're getting this. But at the end of the day, even when you do get that, it feels good for a little bit, but it's not really gonna make you feel any better after a while. And you're still gonna be left with that void in your heart and that ache in your heart eventually. And you're gonna have to face that eventually. So what I want you to understand, and when it comes to boundaries with men, I want you to set the boundary. The only way to actually make me happy, if you wrong me, if you make a mistake, because we all make mistakes, is by action and consistency of that action. So when you say, hey, I apologize for, DMing those girls really inappropriate stuff when we're dating. I know that was inappropriate and I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, saying sorry and acknowledging that you did it wrong is cool and all. But what you really want to see is the fact that he changes that action and he changes it consistently. Not just says, yeah, I'm sorry, I won't do it anymore. And he stops doing it for a couple of days and then he goes back to DMing those same girls, that same inappropriate stuff that you were upset with him before.